All right, Ronan MMA, welcome back to the channel. As you all know, Jon Jones and Ciryl Gane are set to face each other at UFC 285 on March 4th, leading up to, and especially as we get closer to the fight, Ciryl Gane has made some statements that have me a little concerned. And then his coach came out and did an interview and didn't really double down on the concerns that I had, but almost created new ones. And so I want to talk about some of those statements and whether or not I think they are legit or if he's trying to play mind games or what's going on. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. But before we do, please like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. I will thank you in advance because I'm Canadian A. So thank you very much for your subscription. Now, please don't be the kind of guy who doesn't do the thing that he has already been thanked for. And I also want to apologize for the state of my hair for the last few videos because, one, I film these as soon as I get out of bed, so I've got a little bit of bedhead going on, and also I've had a pretty bad headache the last couple days, and I don't want to tie my hair back. For those of you who have long hair, you will know. Now, Ciryl Gane, as I said, has made a few statements that have me a little concerned leading up to his fight for Jon Jones. In my initial early prediction video, I picked Ciryl Gane to win because I still might pick him to win anyways, despite these strange statements that he's made. But I picked him to win basically because of, I think that people kind of forget about Jon Jones's last performances, and I think that the idea of Jon Jones kind of clouds their judgment, and his domination through the light heavyweight division in his early career it's like a rose-tinted glasses situation, in my opinion. You may disagree with that, with me on that, but that's fine. Ciryl Gane said that, he goes, while I love to grapple, because I guess he was asked a question regarding his grappling leading up to his fight with Jon Jones, knowing that that's going to be a major game plan of Jon Jones's, or at least thinking that will be a major game plan of Jon Jones's. He said, while I love to grapple, the problem is I am lazy, and I don't actually train unless I know that I have a fight. Okay. You're fighting the best heavyweights on planet Earth, and I understand that you are pretty freakishly athletic, but you think you might want to, be getting better outside of fight camp, especially in the grappling realm, because Francis Ngannou was, for the most part, able to out-grapple him, and as we all know, Francis Ngannou is not the most elite grappler in the world, and especially standing next to Jon Jones, his grappling looks amateurish. So that was a weird statement, I thought. And that was a recent statement that he also made. And then he said that he doesn't feel like he got enough time to prepare for this fight, which that's arguable, I guess. Every fighter's different, and some guys don't like overly long camps because they feel that they might peak too early athletically, and then the rest is kind of just them being overworked, or, some guys prefer a longer camp. But I remember I was listening to Jamal Hill on the Joe Rogan Experience, and Joe Rogan asked him what he ideally would like for a camp, and Jamal Hill said about 8 weeks, which to me, that seems to be kind of like the standard 2 months, 8 weeks, whatever you want to call it. Seems like a good training camp. Ciryl Gane and his coach, though, they said that they wanted at least 3 months to prepare for, and then they said, for the greatest of all time. Now, I can understand wanting a little bit more preparation time for Jon Jones, but I would argue that an 8-week camp would be perfectly fine if you were actively training and getting better outside of fight camp. And his coach also said that don't take that lazy comment too seriously, because since his loss to Francis Ngannou, he has completely changed. And that was previous to that. And now, in fairness, the example that No, not in fairness, man. Ciryl Gane literally gave the Tai Tuivasa example as when he said I wasn't training and then I got the Tai Tuivasa fight and then I started training and then I haven't really trained much since. That was after the loss to Francis Ngannou. So I'm not sure who to believe on that one because there's two contradicting stories there between him and his coach. It's kind of strange though. It's people view the word excuse as like pretty derogatory and almost always has a negative connotation, but it doesn't necessarily have to. Like an excuse is an excuse. Whether or not you want to view it as basically the way it becomes bullshit or not is if it's an invalid excuse. Like it's it's really strange that he's already kind of setting the stage for if he doesn't have a good performance, or at least that's what it would appear on surface level. Now, there's one theory that I have, and it could, I just might be being silly, but maybe Ciryl Gane is playing some real 4D chess here, and he is aware of the comments made, by Jon Jones and teammates, or Jon Jones and coaches, or Jon Jones and management, whoever, Joe Rogan, anybody who was a fan of Jon Jones and just took at face value that Jon said he wasn't training very much. He may be playing into that a little bit because Jon Jones is notorious, or at least he's notorious for saying that he didn't train leading up to certain fights in his career, which conveniently are ones that he struggled with, right? Like the Alexander Gustafsson 1 fight was a very close fight and a very tough fight for Jon, pardon me, and he had gotten cut and hurt and actually taken down in that fight, and it was a crazy fight. Now, if you were to look at the difference in Jon Jones versus Alexander Gustafsson 1 and 2, you might think, oh, well, yeah, he must have been not training. But I don't know that it's that simple. Like, Jon was very young when that first fight happened with Gustafsson, and Gustafsson also after that had been, if memory serves me correctly, pretty active and had some pretty hard fought wars as well. And perhaps Jon just improved in like the 6 or 7 years in between their first matchup. Because really, nobody knows how much Jon trained, whether or not he trained, whether or not he was actually doing cocaine like days before the fight, Only Jon knows that. And there's never really been there can't really be. There's really never ever been like concrete proof that that was the case. Because anybody who's ever said it or corroborated the story are basically people who would also benefit from Jon either not looking as bad as you think or looking better than you think he is. But it's a strange thing, and I don't know that if I was going to try and play mental games with my opponent, that would be the one that I was playing. And like Jon Jones kind of tweeted something out to that. He goes, I smell a trap or something like that. And I think that the reason he smells a trap is because that is such a fucking absurd statement to be making. Like at the time when Jon was doing this, and I understand that, the light heavyweight division was pretty rich with talent. However, a lot of the big names that Jon Jones has on his record were more or less at the end of his career, at the end of their career. Pardon me. I'm not trying to diminish his wins because he still went out there and, a lot of those guys he beat in extremely, extremely impressive fashion, like how he choked out Lyoto Machida. He beat the brakes off of Rampage Jackson. He fucked up Shogun Hua. Like all of these guys, he fucked up. Whether they were at the end of their career or not. Jim Miller's at the end of his career, and Alexander Hernandez couldn't put him away. Kind of like, I'm not trying to diminish Jon Jones's career by any means, but that's not the level of 4D chess that I would be playing. It's kind of strange. I'm thinking Ciryl Gane seems to have a weird sense of humor. Now he's got amazing Nate Diaz impression, I will say. I will give him credit there. And perhaps it's because his broken English works absolutely perfectly with Nate Diaz impression. But, man, they also... They mentioned another thing, which to me is like you're prefacing this fight with a bunch of excuses. This is something that I would bring up after the fight. You know, there was... I wouldn't even bring it up directly after the fight. I would bring it up like later on down the road. During the Stephen Thompson-Kevin Holland fight, and now I'm not in Kevin Holland's body, so I cannot say for 100% certain, but Kevin Holland says that he broke his hand on one of the first punches he landed on Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, which I 100% I don't agree with, and I don't believe it, and I wouldn't call him a liar. I would say that he was misremembering because he was being asked immediately after the fight stopped. But I don't like when guys do that because to me, whether the intent is there or not, it diminishes their opponent's victory. And Israel Adesanya did this with Alex Pereira as well. He did not get kicked in the perennial nerve in the first round, okay? Because that's not what a perennial nerve kick looks like. A perennial nerve kick is in a different location, and B, makes your foot go fucking numb to the point where you're rolling over your ankle like Sean O'Malley or Michael Chandler or Henry Cejudo, or take your pick of all of the times we've seen it happen. I know that calf kicks can be debilitating whether or not they hit the perennial nerve, but it was not a perennial nerve kick that caused the damage to his leg in round 5, right? He said it happened in round 1. Well, it's strange that the only time you were unable to move on that leg was in round 5 after Alex Pereira had done a beautiful check on one of your leg kicks, you know, that sent you stumbling backwards into a backward somersault essentially, and then rocked you on the feet. And I think that's probably more why you were unable to move. And in the Kevin Holland fight, again, when I was watching that fight, I didn't see him stop throwing right hands until there was an odd exchange in... I believe it wasn't even an odd exchange, but it was, you could tell because he started fighting a little different after. It was either at the end of, I think it was at the end of the second round. So he claims it happened in the first. I think it was the end of the second round, or maybe even partially through the third, where Wonderboy threw like a wheel kick, and Kevin Holland, for whatever reason, thinks that he can block that with one hand. And he just kind of put his hand up there like that. After that block, he didn't throw any more right hands. So immediately, when I was watching, I went, oh, there, he broke his hand there. Now, you come to find after the fight that Stephen Wonderboy Thompson had broken his hand pretty well just as fucking bad in that fight. Because he was very graceful, and when Kevin Holland showed him how swollen his hand was, you can see his reaction on the TV there. He's like, holy shit, like, you know, he thought, wow, that's crazy. He even called his dad over, hey, look at this. And then he waits, you know, I think it was like a week or something like that, and then he posts a picture of his hand after the fight, and I went, yeah, that's what I want out of guys. Like, he wasn't gonna steal the, you know, the news of Holland's broken hand in exchange for his own, because it would probably seem like, I fought through this. What is he being such a bitch for? He was just getting beat up. But, you know, Wonderboy's not that type of guy, so he ain't gonna do that. But that was a bit of a long tangent, eh? So Ciryl Gane has claimed that he wanted the fight to be pushed back an extra month, not just for preparation time, but because he wanted his hand to be able to heal, because apparently he broke it in the Tai Tuivasa fight. Now, I'm not going to question any professional fighter's toughness or anything like that. But what I will say is, I don't think, unless, you know, short of a compound fracture, would you ever need 6 months to heal a broken hand. Because for those of you who can't think off the top of your head, when he fought Tai Tuivasa, it was in September, right, at UFC Paris. that was 6 months ago, or will have been 6 months ago. And typically, broken bones, I've broken my arm. I had about 8 weeks with a cast, so that's 2 months. And then I understand that there can be rehab and things like that after the fact. But again, I've also broken my hand multiple times. I've broken my middle knuckle on my right hand 2 or 3 times, and I've broken the pinky and ring finger, like these 3 knuckles here. Broken them each a couple times. And they're mangled, and I didn't heal them properly, but it definitely didn't. It wasn't like I hurt them again 6 months later. I hurt them again like 6 days later, because I was an idiot. And yeah, we don't need to get into it, but six months to heal a bone, with all due respect, like I'm not trying to shit on him or like question his toughness or anything like that, but that doesn't seem reasonable to me. And I could understand that they maybe have some extensive rehab program after the fact, because they know that you're going to be 100% hitting shit with that hand again because you are a professional fighter. But 6 months, man, that's a fucking long time. And had it been pushed back another month, it would have been 7. So you're telling me half a year or more to heal a broken bone in a hand. And I get that it can be tricky because your job absolutely requires you to use your hand, probably more than most like tradesmen. But I would argue, not even I would argue, like, but September, you break it at the beginning of September, October, November, 2 months, your hand should be healed, and then you got a month or 2 of rehab, and then it should be fine, man. Like, I get that sometimes hand breaks can be a little tricky depending on what bone it is and how it's broken and all that stuff, but for a clean break of like a knuckle or a finger or something like that, it's typically... Dude, if you break your finger, which I have also done multiple times on both hands, because I've worked in woodworking industries for a lot of my adult life, and I use my hands, and for those of you out there, you probably won't know what I'm talking about, but there's this machine called a V-nailer, which is used to nail joints that would be mitered, which are 2 joints at an angle, okay, like 45s to make a 90-degree angle. And it's there's like a hydraulic press, and you press on the pedal, the thing comes down, shoots a nail in from up below, and it's got a lot of power behind it, okay? And one day I was setting that thing, and they always tell you when they teach you to use these machines, keep your foot off the pedal. It's almost like firearm training. Like, your finger should never be on the trigger unless you are about to fire. Which is the same rule applies for this. And I didn't fucking listen, or I didn't realize where my foot was or what, but I had my finger on a piece of wood that I was trying to align, and my foot hit the pedal. The hydraulic press came down, and I broke my finger, like, clean, here, this way. And I was out of work for like a week, and then I wore a splint, and a couple weeks later it was healed. Because it was a clean break, no compound, no nothing, no fragments, no anything like that, just a clean break. They heal quick. Digits heal quick. As long as you're not, like, overly stupid with them. But then his coach comes out and kind of like doubles down on this shit. Well, he's not making excuses. He's just he's just telling the truth. Well, excuses can be truth, or they can be bullshit. That's, that's the whole like thing behind whether or not it's a good excuse or a bad excuse. And these could all be good excuses. He could be not lying. He could be not exaggerating. He could be telling the truth, about the hand shit. But when it comes to the training shit, my guy, that's on you. And I hope to God that that's not true, because I gotta be honest, I'm not a very big Jon Jones fan. There's a lot of fighters that do a lot of dumb shit outside of the cage. Not many of them have instances, though, where they beat their wives in front of their kids. And as somebody who has 2 kids and a wife, I don't like that shit at all. Not even a little bit. And I had forgiven a lot of the other mishaps of his. The one that also bugged me, though, again, probably because I have kids, was him hitting that pregnant woman in the car. Fuck, that one bugged me a lot, man. But, you know, it is what it is. And then all of the DUIs and shit like that, I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's clearly not the best of people, but it is what it is. Again, like, he's one of the best fighters ever. Of course, he's going to be a little crazy and out there and shit like that, right? But beating up your wife in front of especially your fucking daughters, man. What are you doing, dude? Your youngest daughter asks the fucking hotel clerk or whatever you want to call them, the guy at the front desk, to call the cops. Like, Jesus Christ, guy. You know, it's obviously not their first time seeing some shit like this. And it's not. I don't like it. And also, it bugs me that in his DUI, when he forgets his fucking alphabet because he's drunk, he, tries to blame it on CTE. And it's like, my guy, you've got some of the best fucking defense in the game, and you've been hit probably less than most of your competitors. And you don't see these guys out there beating up their wives in front of their daughters. You don't see them getting in crazy DUIs. You don't see them hitting pregnant ladies while you're drunk driving, to then flee the scene only to run back to try to grab your fucking pipe or whatever it is, man. Like, jeez. I don't like him, okay? And I would love nothing more than Ciryl Gane to beat that ass. I would love to see Ciryl Gane get a KO, get some crazy finish. These statements kind of, they have me a little worried. Immediately after I read these statements, I started watching back not old Jon Jones fights, but Jon Jones' most recent performances, in an attempt to try to sway my mind back to still picking Ciryl Gane. And I think I may still do so. I've still got some more fights to watch, but yeah, man. I don't like that they're already prefacing the fight with excuses about the broken hand. And again, I'm not saying that they're making bad excuses, and I'm not, excuse is not inherently a bad thing, but they are making them. And his coach tried to say they're not excuses. It's like, no, that is what they are. It's whether or not they're good excuses or valid excuses. And it's got me a little concerned. But those are my thoughts on it. So, anyways, let me know in the comments what you think. If these Ciryl Gane is just... oh, man, I can't believe I forgot to call him Ciryl Gane. Because that's what Jon Jones calls him. And that's what I want to call him from now on. But let me know in the comments what you guys think about his statements, whether or not you think that he's playing mind games, or if he is, legitimately, if he's making excuses before his fight, or what do you guys think? Let me know. And please don't forget to like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. We're growing quickly, but still, don't be one of the 80% of people that don't, because I could have almost 1,000 subs by now, but 80% of you won't subscribe. So please just do it, and I'll thank you in advance, because I'm Canadian, So thank you very much, and I'll see you at the next one. Bye-bye.